like texting.
I was totally
putting something on Facebook.
Hi guys, thanks everybody for coming out. It's totally awesome.
So we're gonna need to project a little bit.
I'm losing my voice.
If you guys want to scooch in, you want to bring in your cushions further, please do.
Can you hear me? Not really. My voice feels very...
We'll make it work.
Sit on my lap.
So how many of you are familiar with Buck's work? And by familiar, how many of you have actually watched anything that he's done?
Come on, own up to it.
There's no shame here.
Porn.
So when I met Buck, I knew who Buck was. We had our first conversation at the Adult Novelty Expo, and we actually weren't talking about sex. We got to talking about dentistry. Because as entrepreneurs, we're always hustling for our paycheck. It's not like money just rains down upon us. And Buck was kind enough to be like, so like, how's your health? Like, how are you doing? Are you gonna die on this anytime soon?
Well, because of you don't take care of your teeth.
Yeah, and I was like, well, I've been putting my dentistry off for a little while, and then Buck was like, well, fuck that, like, come down to where I live, and Buck lives in Mexico, and he's like, and get your dentist stuff done. And then for like the next 3 months, she basically emailed me once a week and harassed me.
I did.
Until I came down, and so my first question for you is one, and we'll get to activism and stuff like that, but for you, like, did you ever think that you'd be doing this and being an entrepreneur and being an activist and a filmmaker, like, when you were a kid?
Oh, God, no. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a cowboy. I'm serious. I wanted to be a cowboy. So, no, there's no way. I would never, even like 10 years ago, I would never believe that I'd be sitting here. No way.
And when did you realize this is what you wanted to be doing?
Well, it's not actually that I wanted to be doing this. I just wanted to make porn. I didn't really want to, like, become an activist or, like, I just wanted to be a dirty pervert and, like, show the world that sex is hot and, like, sex is fun because there was no representation of guys like me in porn. There just wasn't 10 years ago. And so I just, decided that I wanted to make porno, but, like, it's sort of like naturally progressed into what I am doing today, which I don't even know what I'm doing, to be honest with you. I'm sort of speaking to the world about being yourself. It's not that I don't think I'm focused on just one thing. Like, I feel like I sort of wanted to spread to the world that, you can be whatever you want to be, no matter what anybody tells you. And I feel so lucky to be able to spread that message and, like, people to be sitting here listening to me and, like, wow, like, I totally did it. I totally became who I want to be.
Mm-hmm. And as far as, like, moving from porn into filmmaking, and then Buck, you just got accepted into which film festivals today?
Well, I had Hong Kong Just Write Me, and Spain, and France, and New Zealand for my film to be shown. But my film has been showing in Tel Aviv.
And which one's that?
Sexing the Trans Man. I did a documentary called Sexing the Trans Man. This is the pornographic version, but I also did a mainstream version, which basically talks to trans men about their sex change and their sexuality and how it changed through taking hormones and having surgery, because most guys like me are not very comfortable in their bodies sexually, because we just never felt sexually like people were going to be into us. So through the progression of our change, a lot of guys started feeling more comfortable, and the world doesn't know about guys like us. I mean, they know what you see sort of like maybe in documentaries, but nobody ever touched on the sexuality aspect of our change. So I thought it was very important to talk about that. And so I just made this film through my travels, documenting guys and talking to them, and sort of edited it together in my crazy pornographic style. And I just literally threw it out there. I had no intention. And then next thing I know, all the major film festivals throughout the world were, like, picking up my film. And every day, like, I get more film festivals and more film festivals picking up my film. It's like, I'm like, is this real? Are they really wanting to look at this? But it just shows you that people want to know. People want to know about guys like me. They want to know how we are.
What, from going to these other festivals and being in other parts of the country, and I know you do a lot of traveling to Germany especially, but like, what's been one of the most surprising things that you've learned or has occurred being in other countries? Like how are other countries around sexuality and trans identity different from the U.S.?
Like night and day. That's why most of the time you see me in Europe as opposed to the United States. You know what I'm talking about.
Is it just the same?
Sorry?
Is England,
Actually, you know, the UK is very open-minded about sex. I've been on major television. I've been on like Good Morning America there, you know, like that same show, Good Morning UK, talking about my vagina to like ladies drinking tea. And like, wow, did you see that? Like, that's amazing and very progressive. They barely have me on the fucking Tyra Banks show here, you know what I mean? Sort of like the freak of nature. Like, woo!
you need to go on The View.
They would never have me on. I would go. I tried to get on Oprah. She was like, not even gonna talk to me. Yep, not even. And it's because of my openness about my sexuality and the openness about my vagina and the openness about talking about those things. The United States does not. I mean, if you're looking in general, the United States doesn't want to talk about sex. We don't even have sex ed in school anymore, really. You know, remember sex ed, people? Like, I think they don't even have that anymore.
They do, but it's extremely limited.
That is ridiculous.
It's abstinence.
You would rather have your child playing like those fucking Resident Evil than like talking about their vagina or their penis. And in the Europe, they talk about that, you know, that nudity is like something that's just very normal. Yeah, and so of course I spend much more time in Europe because they embrace my message. They embrace me as someone who is trying to make the world a better place.
What about colleges? When you're touring the colleges, like what's the difference between, you know, college audiences and adult audiences?
Well, actually, the United States has started to bring me more into the college thing, but they have to fight to get me in. Like, they have to really make an effort to say, you know, Buck has something really nice to say about sexuality, and it's okay, but because they pay me money, it goes through the whole system. You know, it's very conservative in colleges, and so they have to kind of like say it's not about sex, it's about, you know, being transsexual or being transgendered. So yeah.
Sorry, with the college circuit. Yeah. With the college circuit, I know that you've been doing it for a while, but do you get re-invited to the same colleges?
No, very rarely. I mean, there's so many colleges. I don't, you know, yeah.
What I'm trying to establish is you were talking about no sex education in schools in the US beforehand, but obviously this is the next generation of educators and high-level educators.
Yes.
So if you can make a difference with them, you should be able to make a difference on the flow-down tiers. But if they don't re-invite you,
yeah, then the next generation is not getting the same message. Totally, I agree with you. But most of the time when I go to speak, I don't really talk about sexuality. I talk about my change. I talk about becoming me, and you know, I talk about my life story and how I got to be where I am today. And you know, always feeling this way and never feeling like a girl. And then you know, it's more generalized and not necessarily.
Physicality and the mental state that goes with it as opposed to.
Because I think trans is sort of like the new gay now, you know? They talk about that more, and it's like, you know, it's the new... It totally is.
If you watch a lot of TV documentaries, they're very comfortable with talking about trans and relationships.
Yes.
But not how a trans person feels about, okay, I mean, I'll bring up the question, are you gay or are you straight?
Right, exactly. No, they don't... They want to disconnect from the sexual part of it and just make, you know, they want to talk about your change. But that's why Sexing the Trans Man was very important to me, because it takes it that one step further. When we change, a lot of us, our sexuality changes with it, our way of looking at the world changes with it, and no one really ever touched on that. And I think that, to me, sexuality is a very big part of who you are. And if you don't own that part of you, you still haven't really fully had your acceptance or your change.
And also in the U.S., like, your sexuality is so interwoven into who you have sex with,
Yes.
and your identity
Yeah.
and your gender,
Yeah.
and to peel those things apart and give people any kind of tools to think about it and to start making choices when we're not really given a lot of choices. I mean, how was that for you moving, you know, when you were going through your transition and stuff, like, because if this is really one of the first movies out there, like, you didn't have any of this
I had
to begin
nothing.
with.
When
I
I
were coming from the fashion world too.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that I don't know how I got. People ask me that question all the time. How did you become so okay with yourself and talking about your vagina and being a man with a vagina? I cannot tell you one specific thing that did it for me, other than the fact that I got to my change and I was how I am now and I was presenting as a male, but there was still a disconnect with my genitals. And I knew, because I still had this disconnect with my genitals, I was not fully me, if that makes sense. Like, I just still, something in me didn't feel like I could still walk down the street and be proud, and I could be. So it was like, I knew at that point I needed to connect with my genitals, and that's not an easy thing to do. It's like, I don't know how many of you have disconnect with your genitals. Most people don't. A lot of people are just okay with it. It's something that can make or break you. And it was like, finally I realized, if I don't accept this part of my body, I will never be fully male. Even though the world was telling me, you'll never be fully male, dude. You need a penis. You'll never be a man. And it was like, clicked into my head. I'm not getting the penis. If I don't accept this, I will always be at, the mercy of the world, telling me always, and I'll always be hating myself. And it was like, at that moment I knew, I don't care what anybody thinks about me anymore.
That said, you say that you don't know how many people feel a disconnect with that, but as a non-transgender person and a person that comes from working in the sex industry in all parts of the U.S.,
Right.
Meeting a lot of people around the world and finding that whether they're straight, gay, male, female, transgender, they still have this huge disconnect.
Yeah.
Like, I watched you on the Tyra Banks show, and you said, "I love my vagina. Don't you love my vagina? Or don't you love your vagina?" And she went, "Yeah."
Exactly.
And it's like, well, if you can't accept who you are, if you know that you have to change, like you did, you knew that you had to change physically to feel comfortable with yourself, and when you did, you became comfortable with yourself. But how did you discover that you didn't want a penis, that you wanted to be your vagina, and that made you the man that you are now?
Did everybody hear the question? It was how did you discover that you didn't want to have a penis when you were going through your transition?
Because vaginas rule. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, they do, but that's not why.
Yes, they do.
Everyone wants a vagina.
And penises are cool too.
The reason why I chose not to get the penis surgery, because I did a lot of research, and you have to understand, I did my sex change 20 years ago. There was no internet, there was nothing. I had to figure it out all on my own. Finding and looking for how the penis was going to be, I wanted a penis. You know what I mean? I wanted a penis. I wanted just a working, hard-on, pee through it penis, and wasn't going to happen. And that was very depressing for me for many, many, many years, because, like I said, I had to realize it was not going to happen. And I just realized, why would I do that? Why would I get something that they're going to take a tendon out of my arm? They haven't perfected it. They're going to take stuff out of here. They're going to mold into a penis. It's going to be like this thing that's not going to be what I think as a penis. And so it was a choice that I made, because I knew that, why would I do that if it wasn't going to be the penis that I wanted? If that makes sense. I'm not going to do something that's sort of like half-ass, because I'm not a half-ass kind of guy. I'm just not.
But I know that you went to Yale University and there's tons of controversy. How did that affect your experience there in education? And also, did you ever kind of figure out like where that came from, like controversy is stemming from?
Yeah.
The question was, how did the controversy around Yale Sex Week influence Buck's time there? And then, what was the second part?
The hate mail.
Did you find out
And where the hate was coming from?
Yeah, I was invited to speak at Yale University a couple years ago, and when I got invited, people found out. I don't know what people found out, alumni and some of the people on the campus, and it's very conservative at Yale. So all of a sudden I started getting hate mail, and I started getting death threats. If you come to our campus, we're gonna kill you. And I'm like, what? I was talking to somebody earlier, I was like, bring it on, bitch. And my wife was like, she's like, you gotta report that. And I'm like, I feel like such a wimp right now. I gotta report that. And I did, I reported it, and they were mortified at Yale. They were like, we are so sorry, Buck. So because of that, they had to give me 24-hour police security, and they took it very serious. And nothing happened, but actually it made me feel more empowered in a way, because I was like, wow, me, little old me, with my little old vagina, can make everybody freak out where they wanted to kill me? It's an Ivy League school. I think you're supposed to have a little bit more, I guess you are, maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's like, come on people, get it together, right? It was kind of immature, and the reaction that came out of that was just unbelievable. So I had got asked to speak at a master's tea in the master's home, and he invited all his students, and it was like I got a standing ovation, and it was crammed. And after that, it was just like they knew that they had made the right decision, and since then they have stood by me all the way by bringing me there, and it was an incredible experience for me. I didn't graduate high school. I'm far from an academic, and to be in an environment like that was like, holy shit. It was super empowering for me.
I know people may think that the porn world, I'm not some expert, but from my observation of porn, it seems kind of, I don't know, the regimented also. You have the straight porn, the gay porn, and even that breaks down to different subsections. One of my friends who happens to be black is a cameraman, and he was a cameraman for a gay porn movie. And we got to know the producer, and he told him, I only do white boys, that's what sells.
Right.
So it just got me thinking, porn doesn't always think outside the box either. So I was wondering, with that, how receptive were they when you came along? You're definitely outside the box.
So the question was, even inside of porn, it's not. There's a lot of, everything has its place.
Yeah.
So what was the reaction when Buck came in out of the box with a box?
Right.
That is awesome. I don't know how many of you know that the porn industry is extremely conservative. Shockingly. I didn't know that. I thought, shit, they have 500-man gangbangs and clown porn and everything you can fucking imagine. I'm not being judgmental, but I thought, hey, that's awesome. They're going to be totally they're going to be like, yes, the man with the pussy, finally, right? Not even. They freaked out on me. They were like, what the fuck is that? You're a freak. And I'm thinking, holy crap, I can't even believe it. They literally shut the door in my face. They wouldn't let me. But actually, that was a good thing for me, because I'm sort of like a pit bull. That made me even go harder and made me push it harder. And for years, I just kept pushing and doing my thing and doing it, and they kept pushing back until finally I won the Oscars of the porn business. All of a sudden, it was weird. They just all of a sudden embraced my work. So it was not an easy way. People just think I started and I became no way, man. I had to fight through hell, basically.
Sorry, I first saw your.
So I just want to say, we've got about another 2 or 3 minutes until the outside gets open for the inside to come out. So if we can do more questions after, but I want to do the raffle right now before we get swarmed.
I know what you were going to ask me.
What were you going to ask me? What was I going to ask?
We can hang out more, but it just won't be private.
Okay.
Okay, so do you mind if I with the raffle? Okay, this is for the Wet Lube gift basket right here. And we'd like to thank Wet, one of our swag sponsors.
Awesome.
Buck, will you pick a ticket out? Get your tickets out, ladies and gentlemen.
Whoa, no you didn't.
120-129.
So that would be the single ticket you got when you first came in?
120-129. It ends in 129. 129.
Some people may have them in the back of their...
Going once. Going twice. Okay,
That
here we
one
go, here we
person?
go. 120-012. Yes. Woo! Woo! Come on, claim your prize.
We know what you're doing tonight.
Photo up.
And the next one.
We love lube.
Okay.
What's the answer to that?
Lube is our friend.
So now this is for the Slickwid. Dean, where are you? Come here.
Slickwid.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dean. He found the Slickwid.
I actually personally use that lube. It's it's awesome lube.
Thanks, Bob.
It's awesome lube.
I'll give you that 20.
We have a whole bunch of stuff in there, and Dean can tell you about it later. Okay, 120-229. This is in your strip of tickets that you paid. That the proceeds will go to Bucks.
Hold on, there's people. I have it. Yep.
What is it? You got it? Like the horniest girl in the world gets it.
Come over, get your picture taken with Bucks.